Chun-Li has a whole lot of changes in Omega, and most of them are really subtle. For this one, I really feel like I missed some stuff, so if you know much about Omega Chun, I'd love if you chimed in the comments. Close Strong is now one hit, with an optional target combo into itself for the second hit that knocks down. The two hits are pretty strong. You can cancel either hit. The second hit creates a JP1 state, so not every cancel will work. The charging time for non-EX spinning bird kick has been significantly shortened, so you can actually juggle one here. And you have the option to cancel the super at the end, which does juggle properly. She can also juggle into her back medium kick TC, although unfortunately this seems to be character specific. Close forward, and far roundhouse seem to have been buffed as anti-airs. This is important since she seems to have lost down towards short entirely. Close roundhouse can now be forward jump cancelled on hit only. This is less useful than it sounds, since Chun-Li's jump is pretty slow and reactable and she has no mix-up here. It also now causes a float state on hit. These two changes together give her a much better combo after a focused backdash. The second hit of Crouch Fierce can now be special cancelled, but only into EX moves. SF5 Chun-Li had this during the beta, but lost it prior to release. A normal that only cancels the EX moves is a pretty cool idea, and I wish they ran with it. Low forward is now +5 on hit, +1 on block, up from +3 and 0 respectively. Chun-Li can now get much stronger starters from a low than her standard low short chains. Nothing in particular changed about Far Strong, but its good range and speed mean it's now instrumental to most of her confirms. Now, onto command normals. Chun-Li's towards forward step kick is now +4 on hit, allowing links into lights on regular hit and Far Strong on counter hit. This is a massive buff to this normal. Back forward TC is mostly the same, but the final hit doesn't send the opponent nearly as high, removing a juggle to Ultra or EX Bird. The second hit also has a much smaller launch, making FADC Ultra 2 much harder. Ironically, the change makes FADC Ultra 1 much easier. Close Fierce can now be done from afar with the Back Fierce command. It's fast with little recovery and functions as a pretty good counterpoke, however it is not cancelable. It will also destroy incoming fireballs, much like her VT1 Back Fierce in SF5. It can be super cancelled. On that note, Far Fierce now super cancels. But command overlap means it's now impossible to do Far Fierce and Link Super, since you can't do Far Fierce while holding back. Stomps have been re-angled, so Chun-Li always crosses up. It's now possible to hit a grounded opponent mid-screen with all three stomps. Omega Chun-Li has a dive kick with down plus short. It must be down on a forward jump and before she reaches the max height of her jump. This means she doesn't really have a mix-up between front hit dive kick and cross up short. It's very hard to hit it deep. But even if you hit them pretty high, it has decent hit stun. This makes it very similar to SF5 style dive kicks. Let's talk specials. Kioku is now half circle forward punch. Removing the charge input from her fireball gives her immensely more mobility in neutral. All versions dissipate much more quickly. None of them go full screen. The light one is much better on hit and block. This gives her some new corner conversions. It makes her corner pressure pretty nasty. Lightning legs can now be done with 4 kick inputs rather than 5. It doesn't sound like much, but it makes her execution much easier. You hit each kick once, then you hit the kick for the version of legs you want. You can no longer extend the number of hits by mashing more kicks. Medium legs appears to be +7 on hit. Light and heavy are both around +4 or 5. Heavy does the most damage, but comboing out of it is difficult. EX legs now has an ender. This increases the damage but removes the ability to juggle. You can still FADC it, but 3 bars is not cheap. Chaining from low short into all versions is still possible. EX legs range and speed make it ideal for picking up many juggles. I pretty much covered spinning bird kicks changes already. It charges faster and cancels the super. Additionally, all versions have faster startup and much higher damage. The shortened charge time makes them much more practical after a focus attack. EX Bird Kick still has the old, slower charge time. It's still our main Invincible reversal, and it still can't FADC. I feel like I should mention now, but our backdash distance was significantly nerfed, though it still seems to have good invincibility. The last hit of EX Bird doesn't launch nearly as high. It still throws the opponent out of the corner. But if they're not quite cornered, you can still pick up powerful juggles. The charging on this one is very tight. Juggles into Ultra 1 still work, but juggles into Ultra 2 are gone. Meterless Azanshu seem to be the same for the most part. They still don't break armor, you still can't combo into them, and they're still overheads. The jump might be a little bit shorter now, and they might be a little bit faster overall. All versions are plus enough to link out of, which is very nice with Omega Mode's input leniency. The EX one has been changed drastically, and it now resembles her third strike SA3. The damage is pretty good, and it has juggle potential. Chun-Li's most drastic change is a new special move, Oyoku Kioku, quarter circle forward kick. It's not that strong, but it's a very reliable combo ender since it has decent speed and good movement. Light is the fastest in combos from lights, while heavy is the strongest in combos from heavies. You can FADC the last hit to pick up juggles into stomps, EX moves, or either ultra. But you probably won't do that because the EX version is pretty beastly. It costs 2 bars but has low startup, great damage, and great range. Visually, it resembles Third Strike's Horyoksen. And like Horyoksen, you can cancel the last hit into a jump to pick up various juggles. You can also cancel the jump into a dive kick. This gives you a juggle into EX Azanshu, or even Ultra 2. This seems to be the main way of landing this Ultra now, since most of your other setups are gone. I can't find any significant changes to her super. It does much more damage, but seems to be somewhat slower, between 4 and 5 frames instead of 1 or 2. For the record, low strong is +3. Chun-Li lost a good 5 Kikosho setups, and can no longer land it for less than 2 bars. Capcom apparently thought it would be appropriate to buffer Ultra 2 damage by almost 150 to compensate. Ultra 1 had a few setups removed, but for the most part it's the same. It's her stronger Ultra and Neutral, so there's definitely matchups where you'd pick either one. Omega Chun-Li has a few things that snuck their way into SF5 Chun, and a couple things that almost did. She's not so different from her Ultra version, but with a bit more mobility and a bit more of an offensive presence. Her damage is still a bit below average for Omega, and she's much easier, though she's still pretty technical compared to other Omega characters. I think most people who like Ultra Chun would probably like Omega Chun, but people who don't like Ultra Chun would probably find this version more palatable.